this way.
Well, all good things must end. But will American Dad? Maybe. I really don't know. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about American Dad. Or more specifically, their finales. Now, American Dad has been on for a long time, and for that, I have to praise it. But to be fair, there have been several close calls. Heck, the reason they moved to TBS was because they got quietly canceled by Fox due to low ratings. And while TBS has full airing rights, hence why it airs on Adult Swim and not Freeform or FXX, Fox still produces the show. And as a result, the show has written various possible series finales in case of such an emergency. But when it doesn't happen, they just pass them off as normal, non-canon episodes. However, there is something you need to know, which prompted me to make this video. After Warner Brothers merged with Discovery, a variety of shows, mostly animated, were purged by the all-knowing David Zaslav as tax write-offs. Wow, what a genius. A moment of silence for those we lost. What you might not know is American Dad was almost on the chopping block when the Wall Street Journal discovered that Warner Brothers Discovery tried to get out of their contract with Disney, who owns Fox, even if American Dad still had 2 seasons left to air, but TBS adamantly refused, as American Dad was one of their highest rated programs, if not their highest. Honestly, unless I'm on vacation and there's nothing else to watch, I'll only watch TBS for American Dad. While American Dad has aired one of those seasons, no news has been given on the possibility of renewal, especially with the show going on hiatus for a couple of months due to the strikes, and probably not returning until next year if I had to guess. Therefore, we might not know for a while whether they renew it again and keep renewing it, possibly for 2 seasons like before, or if the next season to air will be the last, or if it'll be renewed for one final season and that's it, there's nothing else. No, I'm not doom writing to get you to watch my video, and I'm sorry if this intro is a little too long, but it is worrisome for American Dad's future. Still, because the show is owned by Fox, and Fox has no problem letting Hulu air their content, perhaps they'll allow American Dad to produce episodes there. I mean, they did it for Futurama, and they're doing it next year for King of the Hill. I don't see why they wouldn't do it for American Dad, which has run just as long. So let's take a look at American Dad's various finales and see which would have worked better. And then I'll give you episodes that could have been finales or potential ideas for a series finale overall. So let's discuss. The first finale we're going to take a look at is Hot Water, aka the most infamous, and aka the one where Stan reenacts Little Shop of Horrors with a hot tub.
You're going to see a cautionary tale that may greatly influence your next hot tub purchase. Here we go.
This episode was produced during a time when the show staff was sure they were going to get cancelled, but a renewal happened at the last minute and it was written off as a non-canon episode, kinda like Tearjerker. Stan is feeling stressed at work and busy at home.
I get it, Stan. You're busy.
Great. The time we've spent talking about this has put me off schedule. Now I'll have to shave in the car.
Which, to be fair, is a common theme in the show. There's plenty of episodes devoted to that premise. The most notable to me is Stan Time, where Stan has no free time during the day, so he takes pills so he doesn't have to sleep. That way, he can do everything he wants at night. Ugh, I wish I had that. I would get so much work done. But Francine takes them too, and their relationship starts to crumble. This time around, Principal Lewis recommends that he try a hot tub. I mean, it did help Lewis.
Look at me. I'm all loosey-goosey. Oh. It's all thanks to my hot tub.
At least this is the first episode with Marguerite. Honestly, I love Marguerite, especially in the kink episode where he and Lewis are watching, and it's like they're watching something be bored. I'm sorry. Stan does end up picking a hot tub, an old, used hot tub.
Come on, Stan. That is a used hot tub. That's gross, man.
Please, man. You got family. This tub ain't for you.
And it does help him relax, but he quickly learns 2 things. While it helps to relax him and Francine and improve their relationship, well, the hot tub is also alive.
Who said that?
Ain't nobody got to know. Just dip a toe.
Wait. You can talk?
I can do a whole lot more than talk, baby.
Again, Little Shop of Horrors. However, Stan neglects everything in his pursuit of happiness and using the hot tub.
You didn't pick me up! I sat outside school like an idiot for over 4 hours. Then I walked home like an animal. Do you even care?
Weirdly, this kind of happened to me once when I was a kid. I wasn't allowed to walk home then, so I just stayed put, even if I only lived a couple of blocks away. I was too obedient. Let's just say, after this happened, my parents would let me walk to and from school. But I didn't have a little brother who did soccer practice, I'm sorry. Eventually, Francine makes Stan choose.
Your family or this hot tub?
Wow, tough choice. Picking a life of pure hedonism obviously isn't the best, and Stan is on the verge of getting fired and his house has gone to pots. He's basically a loser, and not a loser baby. Meanwhile, Francine has moved back home with Mama and Baba, and Steve expresses his feelings in song with Roger, aka the infamous "Dad is gone," saying he has renounced his father for abandoning the family. Now, as an episode on its own, I gotta say, it's plenty of fun. I like CeeLo Green, the songs are really catchy, and I'll listen to them on my own time. But as the finale, I'm sorry, it's kinda poor. Mostly because there is no true resolution. I feel like with any series finale, you need a kind of resolution, even if it's just, oh, Hank and Bobby can finally have something they enjoy together, that being grilling, and they host a barbecue, even if it doesn't majorly change the status quo. Marguerite and Louis do learn the hot tub is alive, and it killed its original owner after he got married and raised a family, neglecting it in the process.
And that's what happens to hot tubs when you have families.
So I killed Joe's family.
Are you crazy? Of course people choose families over hot tubs.
And they get killed trying to stop it. While Francine is presumably drowned by the hot tub, what it calls her up is Stan, again, Little Shop of Horrors, while Stan...
Well, there you have it. That's our story. Stan's dead. Good night.
Weirdly, this I don't particularly mind, but I also kind of do. I don't mind if they kill off the lead, since it's very in style for American Dad to do something that out of left field, but it just feels like we're missing a whole nother scene or two. Like The Devil Inside. Like, it feels like it's just getting started and then bam, it's over. Ugh, I remember that movie. I saw it in theaters and literally everybody booed. Will everybody boo at the American Dad series finale? I sure hope not. Plus, it kind of has a problem in common with Little Shop of Horrors, or at least the film adaptation, which I actually do like. In the musical, it's a more straightforward Greek tragedy. Seymour is promised riches and fame if he feeds people to Audrey too, and he'll also get the hand of Audrey. So he kills his boss and Audrey's abusive boyfriend, and heck, he even gets killed when he tries to take care of his creation once and for all. But this just lets it go on to take over the world. In the movie, they tried this, and test audiences hated the ending, mostly because Seymour had much of his agency taken away in the movie, and as a result, it came off more like a poor sap getting punished, not a guy who lost his way. Which is kind of also true here in a sense, kind of? I don't know. We don't have the rest of the Smiths try to stop the hot tub and dying in the process, or Stan killing them in order to keep the hot tub, which is dark, but hey, it's a finale, or the hot tub doing something to them and making it seem like they abandoned him, that way he'll be with the hot tub forever, and that kind of sucks. Heck, Haley, one of the main characters, and the one Smith who Stan had the worst relationship with, doesn't even talk. She could have been like Mr. Mushnick, somebody who Stan obviously cares about, but as far as he knows, he can do without. Therefore, on its own, I like the episode. As a finale, it could have done better. But what about their next finale, Black Snart, A Love Story? Am I saying that right? AKA the Kim Kardashian one.
Help! I crashed and I don't have a boyfriend.
Do you know her?
Oh, right, because all aliens know each other. Yeah, racist.
Okay, I'll get this out of the way. I don't totally mind the Kim Kardashian guest spot, even if I'm not her biggest fan, because the only thing we have in common is our middle names. And my Cadillac is natural. but I don't think she's the worst actress, and it does sound like she's trying. But yeah, she could have done a teensy bit better. Still, the reason I say I don't mind her is I did massively enjoy her in American Horror Story. I even thought about cosplaying as her in The Acolytes, but I didn't like how quickly she was killed off after all that buildup. Anyway, Roger starts to act clingy, and way more than usual.
Ah! So, where are we going?
I'm going to school.
Ooh, sounds fun. Hey, I bet I can guess what's in your lunch.
And the Smiths realize it's because there's a crashed alien spaceship carrying an alien named, what is it named?
We have something to show you. This is... And... This is my husband, Stan.
Oh my god, you have such a beautiful home.
Okay, I'm not saying that every single time. Here, I'll do it once. Whoosh! I'm not doing that every time. The closed captions even say it's called Prepare to Hock a Loogie, and I'm not saying that either. I'm just gonna call her Angel, like from Stitch, mostly cause she's pink. Roger and Angel end up dating. Wait, that's the wrong terminology. Roger and Angel basically become bang buddies. Literally.
You know what? Let's go out to eat. I feel like I can still hear it.
We are still hearing it, Stan.
However, as we all know, Roger is attached to people like leeches until he gets bored. So he tries to leave Angel, but she won't go. Which I guess kinda makes sense, no offense. Hey, that rhymes. Since she crash landed on Earth and the Smiths are the only people who'd actually shelter and protect her. Roger tries to hand her over to the CIA and make her their problem, but as Stan points out, Angel could very easily just tell the CIA that Roger is an alien too, and that the Smiths are sheltering him.
Yeah, and did you think for a minute about what's gonna happen when she blabs about us?
I did, Stan. I thought about it for a minute, and then a horn honked, distracting me. But that doesn't change the fact.
So he has to rescue Angel from Bullock, but Angel is still annoying, so Roger throws her out of the car, until it turns out that underneath that fur, she kinda looks good, even if she's too much of a Cadillac to fit into Marilyn Monroe's dress without breaking it.
And that's how I became Kim Kardashian.
And that's how she became Kim Kardashian. The end.
Now, kinda like Hot Water, I think on its own, it's fine as an episode. But as a finale, it just feels kind of odd. Kind of. I do prefer this one as a finale a bit better, though. See, as Stan reveals, this is the story of how Angel became Kim Kardashian. And then afterwards, he puts the book he was reading on the shelf, titled American Dad on Fox, almost as if it's saying, we're closing the book and starting a new chapter with our lives. But it still feels a teensy bit anticlimactic, I guess. I'm not saying a finale needs to have a major change. And to be fair, I do feel like finales that just say, oh yeah, their lives just went on, are super rare, even for cartoons. But I don't know, I guess Stan could be like, and then the Smiths all lived happily ever after, just to close out the story. As for the Golden Turd segment, I don't totally mind it. It does feel a bit complete, but in the sense of there's still more to the story if we eventually want to come back to it. It was good to see it potentially one last time, however. Still, I have a few questions about this last scene. Exactly when was it added? Did they know when they wrote it they were getting cancelled, or what? Because some of it does feel a bit tacked on, like Stan closing the book. I could buy the episode originally cutting to black with Stan saying,
and that's how she became Kim Kardashian.
Just because of how it goes. I do know that originally TBS was supposed to do a Nicktoon style thing, where they weren't meant to save the series, just air the final episodes. Which, if that actually happened, would have made that scene so weird. And as for the possibility of the CIA finding out about Roger, well, I eventually want to make a video about that. Finally, let's get to Echoes.
Natalie, what in the heck is all that racket out there?
Some kind of behemoth from beyond time and space, Dr. Buckle.
Ugh, for the love of Pete.
What's the story with this one? Well, like I said above, American Dad is produced by Fox, which is owned by Disney, but the current rights belong to TBS, which is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. And they're probably the worst copyright company on YouTube next to UMPG. And American Dad's crew was quite familiar with The Purge, and just to put it out there, again, this wasn't TBS PBS is doing. The networks all tried to tell the new suits in charge that nobody was going to like these changes, especially the fans, and they didn't listen. Just saying, I feel like you failed as a company when even the voice of Bugs Bunny, Eric Baza, aka your mascot, tells you to actually be an animation company and release your damn movies. Echoes was written when the crew thought they'd be on the chopping block next, and it wasn't a very paranoid fear. So I can kinda get where this episode comes from. Steve has to do an internship for school, and he can't choose between the news station or Buckle's urology clinic.
But which one guarantees me a good grade? Which one is certain to put me on the path to success?
Oh, Steve, no one knows for certain what the future holds.
Good to see Buckle got work after he left Disney Imagineering. You know, I thought about him non-stop on my last trip. Wait, Kitty, what's a urologist? Whisper. The family isn't any help to Steve, so he randomly decides and picks the news.
Born weatherman if my name was really Memphis Stormfront.
So what is your real name?
Toledo Tornado. I changed it so no one would find out I'm Italian.
Ugh, I can never do that. I have too much of my own opinion to give, although I occasionally report on current events in cartoons, like the whole saga I did on the Justin Roiland allegations. Weather channels use something called the Doppler radar to predict the weather, which I have no clue what that is. I just assumed it was like, I really have no clue. You know what, we're gonna look this up. Okay, according to Google, Doppler radar is a type of weather radar that uses the Doppler effect to measure the velocity of objects at a distance. It does this by transmitting a microwave signal at an object, such as a cloud, and analyzing how the object's motion changes the frequency of the return signal. Who knew? Anybody got that? But in the world of American Dad, the Doppler radar is... I don't know what you would call it. Maybe like a storm shed?
It's listening. Stay away from the Doppler, kid.
Screw this, I'm checking it out.
Whenever Steve so much as touches the Doppler radar, he experiences visions of the future, and he's able to use that to help Memphis, who is told by not Frazier, I heard his name is Raymond, that his inaccurate forecast might cost him his job.
Don't mind if I do.
Are you all right?
Eventually, Steve sees a vision of a giant mythical tentacle monster beast destroying Langley Falls and killing all of his friends and family. Memphis tells him that the monster he saw was okay, bear with me. Bafazalon, the Nameless One.
Bafazalon!
Not exactly nameless if he's called Bafazalon, and the Doppler radar is going to release him and destroy the world.
But slumbers to awaken some cursed blood-wrought dawn.
Haha, sounds like it's gonna be a hot one. Stay kooky, Memphis.
So Steve tries to do what Memphis says and destroy the Doppler radar, with Memphis telling him it's the only way to be sure he can't come to life. Only...
The orb wasn't waking the Nameless One. It was the only thing keeping it asleep. It showed me that you would do it for me.
Wow, Steve, you screwed up. It sucks to be you. As a result, the Nameless One ends up destroying the world. And unfortunately, and very scarily, there's nothing anybody can do to stop it. All the Smiths can do is sit in the car together, terrified as a family, and wait for the inevitable to happen.
It's too late. This really is the end of everything.
Only an echo happens, and as it turns out...
Looks like I'll be taking my talents to the Buckle Group's cash-only walk-in urology center.
I mean, but come on, you gotta do Channel 3.
Now this, I feel, would have been a great finale. I really love the twist, it's one of my favorites, especially since they never make it clear if this episode actually happened and Steve was sensing the possibility, hence why he chose to work with Buckle, or if it's a multiverse and Steve just sensed what happened to one of his other selves. It would be up to the viewer to decide if the Steve we gotten to know and love throughout the show got killed by a giant Lovecraftian monster, or if our Steve just had a normal, uneventful time at Buckle's clinic. Still, I wish we got that episode. We haven't had any Buckle episodes since, God, I think Hurricane. However, what problems do I have with this? Honestly, not that many, except I feel like the Smiths are kind of a weak link. Like, they could have been toned down a little. It just feels like they drank a gallon of jerk juice for no reason at the beginning of the episode.
Big dreamers like you and me, we gotta spread our golden wings.
Actually, Dad, when I say this, that includes you.
So they could be like at the end, like, oh, Steve, we should have listened to you. Alright, now let's move on to episodes that could have worked well as finales. And the first one up is one of the most requested, the 200, which I heard this one wasn't written as a finale. It all got started because the writers thought of the idea of, what if Stan had a tattoo?
But why is the tattoo a doily?
His leg was broken. He spent the whole summer laid up on the couch learning to knit. He made doilies, each one finer and lacier than the last.
I've always wanted to do that. This episode takes place after a great apocalypse has caused most of the world to either die or turn into scavengers or cannibals. The event in question is called the 200, something that travels from place to place, destroying everything in its wake. Stan lost his family in the blast, and now he wanders around with tattoos of major events in his life and all of the memories he regrets, like when he refused to move the cans to the curb for trash day and made Francine failed to do it.
Come back! This is 2 weeks worth of trash!
If Francine is there at the end, I'll make it up to her. She'll never carry trash again unless I forget for real.
Or when he got Steve to break a bone and Steve was forced to stay in his room knitting doilies.
I'm really having a hard time putting weight on this foot. I don't think I can go on.
And I don't think I can go another day eating sandwiches that make my mouth cold.
He travels around Langley Falls, or what remains of it, meeting up with Greg and Principal Lewis while trying to travel to New Haven, as there is supposedly a sanctuary there that his family went to. And I write this section while I travel from New Haven back to Newark, and I gotta say, I agree with Greg here.
In Connecticut?
No, the New Haven is a safe zone 100 miles west of here. If they were in New Haven, Connecticut, they'd be dead already. Of boredom.
Yeah, no offense, New Haven, you're kind of like Newark but with better colleges. It's in this weirdo stage of gentrified and not gentrified, the rain somehow has dirt in it, and the trains to Hartford always lead to at least an hour-long layover. Like, how is that even possible? Like, the trains to New York are quicker. Like, Hartford's literally in Connecticut. Stan finds his family, who due to him being Stan, all were able to develop skills to help him in his endeavor. Like having to carry the cans to the curb allowed Francine the strength to keep Stan's wagon from falling to his death.
Francine!
Thanks to you always hiding in the bathroom on trash day, I have a powerful set of the muscles I'm using now.
And the 200? Well, contrary to Roger's claim that he made the 200 up in order to steal spoons, it turns out that Roger caused the apocalypse because he jumped into a hadron collider in order to get back his sunglasses. And then he farted, and then the world ended.
The particle impact caused my personas to split and form separate physical entities, which released a cataclysmic energy burst. I apologize, everyone. I'm the one who ended the world.
The Smiths are cornered by their old friends and family, who have now been turned into cannibals, plus all the characters Mike Barker voiced that can now come back because he's not voicing them, and the 200, who are really all just destructive versions of Roger's personas, which I kind of want to see this in action. Like, imagine Max Jets just being like, Max Jets, and then he just walks away. But they're saved by...
Did somebody order the fish?
With the 200 and presumably most of Langley Falls wiped out, the Smiths start to slowly rebuild the world, and Stan tells his granddaughter the most major lesson of the episode.
We take a moment and tell the people we care about. Don't let Roger in a hadron collider.
I need to be watched very closely.
Thank you, Staniel. I will keep that in mind. I'll be honest, this one I feel would have made a really good finale, probably the best out of all of these options. Stan finally would admit to his family that he does love them, even if he can be selfish and have trouble saying it.
Now that we're reunited, I want to say something I couldn't bring myself to say before. I would like to see you. And I would want to be you.
And having society start over would be a good way to wrap things up. And hey, it is always important to make sure that Roger cannot go into a hadron collider, even if he has super speed and could probably outrun me and my crooked pigeon toe leg.
Everybody look the other way for a second.
No.
I already changed anyway.
But why wouldn't it? Well, American Dad finales typically aren't known for their fan service. It was awesome sauce to see all of those Roger personas, but that's not how it typically goes. Normally, an American Dad finale will start off as a normal episode, and then something crazy happens. I guess a way they could have done it here was to have all of the flashback scenes happen first. Like Act 1 would establish how much of a jerk Stan is, but then he leaves, and then a blast happens, where Act 1 can end with like Roger farting, then cut to commercial, and then 5 months later, and then Stan is decked out in tattoos, and Langley Falls is destroyed, and I don't know, I'm rambling, I'm sorry. As for the episode itself, I will admit my only major problem is I wish they had Jeff in the episode outside of a quick cameo, or better hinted at the reveal he be the Deus Ex Machina. Like when Stan finds the family, he could be like, Haley, where's that idiot husband of yours? Well, crap Dad, there's cannibals! Then he appears at the end with Klaus. I don't know. I want to know how Klaus got gigantic though. Again, cool reveal, but I'm just naturally curious and I always crave more. Then there's Rapture's Delight, another non-canon episode.
No! There's a prep school 2 blocks away. Sometimes the kids come in here and play.
And I guess I just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies.
Once again, Stan hates how people treat Christmas, which is a common theme. In one episode, he hated how people were sanitizing Christmas, like saying Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. This time around, it has to do with the religious side of things. As a Christian, he celebrates Christmas in the sense of the day Jesus was born, even if Jesus was never born on December 25th. Apparently, they just changed the date because every religion at the time had a holiday in the winter and they wanted to help get popular. It's kind of like trooping the color. This time around, Stan's problem is that he feels like most Christians only really attend church during the holidays, and to him, that doesn't make them good Christians.
Great, no spaces. Thanks to the fair-weather Christians who only show up on Christmas and Easter.
Which part of me feels like this is a take on how cartoon characters typically attend church, even though most people in real life don't really attend church nowadays, even on holidays, but Stan has a way of coping.
Well, we'll see how fair the weather is when the rapture comes and they're all left behind.
Yeah, so the rapture happens and Stan and Francine are left behind, whereas Atheist Haley and Creepazoid Creep Steve get saved. Why? Because Stan was with Francine in the closet making babies, and I saw one of the babies, and the baby looked at me, and Stan had as many arms as Vishnu, and they were very busy.
What? It can't be the rapture! If this were the rapture, I'd be floating up there! And so would the slow janitor.
Actually, I never truly accepted Jesus into my heart.
I mean, Stan, appropriating a Hindu deity? No wonder God was angry. Well, that, or he's still pissed that Stan held a gun to his head. I could see that too. This leads into Stan and Francine's relationship fracturing until Francine divorces Stan for Jesus Christ himself, who has come back to fight the Antichrist in 7 years. Who I hear the Antichrist isn't voiced by Andy Samberg, only the puppet guy is.
Condemn them, Mother! For they know exactly what they do!
I'm sorry, what does that mean?
7 years pass as Stan deals with having picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies, being alone and living in a trailer with Klaus being turned into fish sticks, and the whole world turning to pots as they wait for the battle between good and evil. But Stan is entrusted by Jesus Christo to rescue Francine, and he dies in the attempt. He awakens in heaven, but as Michelle tells him, a personal heaven is what your heart desires most, and as Stan desires eternity with his family...
Honey, I'm wearing my new dress. How do I look?
Definitely not like a fish, baby.
Outside of me wondering what Haley's personal heaven was like, I do enjoy this episode. Albeit, it's not my favorite, but I do think it's one of the show's best, and it's fun to watch around the holidays. As a finale, I do think it could have worked, since you could just say that Stan is reliving the events of the show, and even one of the writers acknowledged that was his personal theory, as in every episode after this takes place in Stan's personal heaven. A lot of people also agree with this theory, and you know what? I can could buy it. It could explain why the Smiths got flanderized, since Stan's personal heaven is based on what he thinks of the family. So, argument's sake, Haley became lazier because he just pictures her as a lazy bum. Plus, even the show acknowledged it in the multiverse episode. However, I don't think a Christmas episode is a good finale, and it would have been cool to see how the other Smiths would react to their own personal heavens. It is cool to see Steve, but hey. Finally, we have two more recent additions to the bunch. Brave New World has Steve help Stan out with some work at the CIA, because he has to enter a video game contest and Stan knows nothing about that.
You're splitting focus. Your character is a powerful healer, but you're trying to make her a warrior. It's like when you're hanging out with me, but your mind's on work. That's being a not-so-nice papa.
Only Stan loses, and it leads into a nuclear apocalypse as North Korea and the US engage in nuclear war. As mutually assured destruction collapses the world.
Wasn't that supposed to prevent nuclear war?
No, that was you with the video game!
Dad, look!
Various countries send records of mankind out into space, and 1 billion years later, a group of aliens discovers some ice cream, and it causes them to recreate Earth so they can buy some more.
Can you produce more of this delicious dessert?
Yes, but the only way to recreate it is to recreate the planet. And wait.
In this new timeline, Stan actually follows Steve's instructions, and while Steve is a little creeped out by it, they end up averting the apocalypse. Now this, I guess it could be a good finale, even if we technically wouldn't be following the same Smiths anymore. But it does remind me of that Futurama episode where it turns out their universe restarts every time it ends, and then it ends up exactly the same. Sorry, that episode gave me an existential crisis. My final idea is the episode A Roger Story, which, to be fair, I do have problems with it, but I think if you remove one scene, it would be a good finale. Steve and Snot discover that their mothers actually don't like each other, because, no offense, they only pretend to care because they love you guys, so they try to get them to bond, but they're two different people.
That often, they've always kind of bored me.
That's right, chuckleheads. I'm patrolling your houses too.
Run!
And I know it sounds weird, they're trying so hard, but considering how Francine and Hiko don't like each other, and it almost ruined Steve's friendship with Akiko, maybe it isn't that much of an unfounded fear. The main way they try to get them to bond is by faking their deaths, Romeo and Juliet style, where they'll use a poison to appear dead and then rise out of their coffins to the arms of their willing mothers, who will bond via the experience and become friends. Only Roger accidentally uses a real poison, meaning Steve and Snot are one and truly dead.
I must have given them poison. How could that have happened? Everyone, I have an announcement. This is actually a real funeral.
So Francine and Snot's mom have to put aside their differences and travel to hell with Roger in order to make a deal with Satan. Satan will return Steve and Snot to life, and they'll spend the rest of their days happy with each other and their company. But in exchange, Snot's mom and Francine have to stay in a room together for eternity, just the two of them. And all of Earth will forget they ever existed.
But they will be alive.
And they'll have each other?
We accept. Which is a pretty ironic punishment. Like, imagine, the person you hate the most, you have to be with them forever and you can't leave. But if it's further boys, they'll take the deal. So just as promised, the pair grow up and have great lives together. Only Stan remembers Francine.
Francine loves Muppet Treasure Island. Francine? Who is... Francine!
Obviously, if they cut out that one scene with Stan, I feel like this would be a pretty good finale. It would be the end to a really fitting friendship, and in a way, two characters would be killed off. But I don't like that final scene. But I have an upcoming video on why. Finally, how do I think American Dad should end personally? Honestly, I really have no idea. I have heard some ideas, like Roger was really the Smiths all along, or all of Langley Falls or something like that. Heck, I even heard at one point they thought about a movie involving Roger on his home planet, but Mike Barker leaving put a kibosh on that, and even he thought Roger's home planet would be a series finale type deal because he thought audiences wouldn't want to go back to the Smiths after they saw it. But I feel like if the show ends, it'll likely end with everybody getting killed off. It has been a common theme in other finales. Everybody, or at least Stan, dies, or it's implied. He died in hot water, Francine presumably also died, Marguerite and Louis bit the dust, Echo's Heroes had the whole world get destroyed, and Black Snarred, while all of the Smiths survived, that one lady from the Golden Turd did get executed. I think if the show gets cancelled now, they'll probably go all bigger and better than ever before, because with 20 plus seasons under their belt, I don't see the possibility of it getting renewed, unless they get picked up by Hulu, which is a distinct possibility, all things considered, but in that case, I feel like it would probably just be like a reboot or something. Again, kind of like they did with Futurama. But if that doesn't happen, I could see them doing something big, like, we're gonna kill off everybody, and now there's gonna be no chance of revival. But I don't think they'll engage in any of the typical finale cliches I've been hearing about, like Jeb and Haley leaving the Smith household, or Steve finally gets laid. I could see this happening in episodes prior to the finale, much like King of the Hill did, but not the finale itself. Or, argument's sake, maybe Roger reveals himself to the world, and somehow this leads into an all-out war between humankind and its species, and they destroy each other. That's just me. Anyhow, what are your thoughts? How do you think American Dad will end? Comment down below. Wow, I haven't said this in a while, but I'm Kitty Monk, and thank you for watching. I will see you on Friday. Bye!